That's not how we want it. This is the way we want it. Here we go. As we're going to get into the webinar for tonight in the discussion, which is something that is probably my favorite thing to talk about. Really, how to become a success magnet. I watched The Secret, and I watched a couple of shows, documentaries, right on the law of attraction, and I was intrigued by it. And then I came across a book called Becoming Supernatural, and then I read a book on physiology called The Body Keeps the Score, and I just really got interested in energies and how our bodies function. And I read a book, a neurobiology book called the Brain, the Story of You. And so I began to get very interested in how the brain works, how thoughts work, how they affect our body, how our energy affects the universe. And I just, man, it just became some mind blowing information that I learned that not only did I learned it, but I began to apply it outside of the way that it was traditionally taught. So the neurobiology was just taught from a simple brain aspect of, or this is just how the brain works. And then I said, well, if that's how the brain works, well, how can I use that? How can I manipulate that for my benefit? Then I was learning about the physiology, and I'm like, okay, well, how can I use that physiology for my benefit? And what we got here in this class, how to become a success magnet, is me learning all of these different things, but then asking the question, how can I use this information for my benefit? And this is what you are going to get tonight. You're going to get the benefit of everything that I've learned and studied in this class, how to become a success magnet. So, have you ever seen someone who seems to just attract success in every area of their life? It's just like everything just seems to always go right, and you're looking at yourself and you feel like everything seems to be going wrong, or you got a group of folks that feel like everything is going wrong, and every time y'all talk, y'all talking about how things are going wrong and how things aren't going right, and you have no idea. Then you put an effort in, but you're still not seeing the results that you want to see. Well, in this webinar, we're going to explore how to increase what you receive in life without having to increase all of that effort. We still need the effort, but there are some other things that you need to do in order to begin to attract that success. So let's start here with our mental roadblocks. Understand this: our success is either blocked or released in our minds, period, point blank. Who you can be, what you can become, what you can have, all of that is either released from your mind or it's blocked in your mind. One and the other, one or the other. But most of the times we're not conscious of what we're thinking. So we're thinking so many things that say, block this blessing, block this opportunity, block this new life, block this new version of ourselves, because we're not really conscious of our thoughts. We just have thoughts running through our mind all day long: good, bad, 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 good, bad, bad, bad. We just have these thoughts going through our mind, and we're never checking our thoughts. And your thoughts is the beginning of what your life is going to be, or what your life can be. So the success that you say that you want, it has to be released in your mind. It has to be released in your mind. I love in the Bible, Christ told Peter, whatsoever you bind on earth is already bound in heaven, and whatsoever you loose on earth is already loosed in heaven. It's like the success that you want, what you want to have, it's already released in heaven. It's already released in the universe, but you are blocking it. You are blocking it with your mind. So we have to learn. Excuse me, I don't. This is annoying me. We have to learn to use our mind to attract success rather than waiting for lucky breaks. Question right there. Are you looking for a big break or to create an opportunity? One of our issues is we want to hit the lottery. We just want somebody to discover us. We just want somebody to put it in our hand, but we're not using our mind to unlock what we already have. You already have so many resources. You already have so much talent, so many gifts. You already have so many things that are right around you that you just need to bring together to create an opportunity for yourself, as opposed to waiting for somebody. Because see, you're not using your mind right. You thinking, well, I don't have the right resources to do this. Negative thought that then block the resources that you already have. I don't have the right people around me to be able to accomplish this. Negative thought, you're blocking the people that can potentially bless you. Your success is either released in your mind or blocked in your mind. So those mental roadblocks, we got to begin to be conscious of the thoughts that we're thinking all day, every day, and then being intentional about what we are saying in our mind and also what we are saying out of our mouths. Not just the words we speak. I know life and death is in the power of the tongue, but also the thoughts in your mind are powerful as well. So we got to begin to put the right thoughts in our mind. That way we can release what we want in our lives as opposed to blocking what we want in our lives. We got to move from what's happening to me to what is happening from me. Whenever I say that, people are like, what do you mean what's happening from me? You got to shift your thinking to take control of your world and draw your success. This is the real question, right? What in my life is starting from me? This is what I mean when I say what's happening from me. What is appearing in my life that I know started from in here and from in here? Too much of our life is what happened to me. That's things that are manifested in your life that somebody else did, that your community did, that the environment did, that the government did, that your parents did, that your friends did. It's always what's happening to me. And you can explain everything in your life that has manifested that somebody else put in your life. But what I'm asking when I say is what is happening from me, I'm saying, what have you intentionally, let me even say intentionally, what have you manifested in life that started in here or from in here? That's the question. If you look around your entire life and everything is revolving around what happened to you, then you got to change something because you're not controlling your world at all. Everybody else, how can you be a success if everything in your world is predicated on what other people do? So we have to move from what's happening to me to what is happening from me. This shift begins to put the control back in our hands, and we become the designers of our lives. Now, this is where it's going to start getting really good, or at least gets good to me as the teacher, because this is where I start really getting excited. This is one of the things that I stumbled across in a very, very crazy way. I was taking a walk one day, and as I was walking, your legs are just going, and I was just like, yo, what's controlling my legs? I'm not telling my legs to move. I'm not saying left leg move, right leg move, left leg move, right leg move. How are my legs just continually moving? Go down a rabbit hole in order to find out what's going on, and what's controlling my legs is, and your legs also, our autonomic nervous system. Our autonomic nervous system is a system in our brain that governs involuntary actions. So it governs your legs when you start to walk. It governs your breathing. It governs your blinking. It governs your digestive system. All the things that your body does on its own. Now, it's crazy to think about. All right, your digestive system and your legs like are controlled by the same thing. Like you never even think about your stomach contracting. Like you don't control that at all. That's done on autopilot. Like everything when you go to the bathroom and opening up and put all that is controlled by your autonomic nervous system, your blood pressure and the flow of your blood. All of this is controlled by, I mean, literally controlling these things in your body, but it also controls your physical body. So once what happens is once the autonomic nervous system has a goal, it takes over you. So we got to understand this. Success comes from what you do on autopilot. What do you just subconsciously do? What are your daily urges? What are your daily urges? You are only going to have the urge to do the things that your autonomic nervous system believe is important. Repeat that. You are only going to have the urges to do things that your autonomic nervous system think is important. So once you have these goals in your mind, like, all right, you have to go, I'm going home. I'm leaving a party, I'm going home. When do you think walk to the car, open the door, put the key in the ignition, step on the brake, pull the you don't have all of those thoughts. It's just automatic. And then you start driving and you drive all the way home without thinking, turn the steering wheel 45 degrees. What? You don't have to think. You're doing all of this automatically because our lives, we're on autopilot. I know this might sound a little crazy to you, but it's a fact. So your urges are going to come from that. Your autonomic nervous system is all day long trying to accomplish goals. So you are accomplishing goals all day long, whether you want to or not. But most of the time, we're accomplishing goals that don't lead us nowhere near success. Mm. Living on autopilot. So we spend most of our lives on autopilot, which would mean the pinnacle of our success is not born out of what you consciously do, it's born out of what you do on autopilot. So again, what are your daily urges? Now, once we reprogram our autonomic nervous system, or right here, so we need to reprogram our ANS to lead us to success. Once you begin to program your autonomic nervous system, that will begin to one of the goals, right, of your day subconsciously from your autonomic nervous system. You're going to accomplish it without trying. I hope this is making sense. Let me break this down. When I was teenager, early 20s, I didn't read. I didn't read anything. I like had no desire to read. Why would I read? What did I want to read now? I'm in these streets. I'm running around, ripping and running. Once I got into personal development and coaching, well, I stumbled into that. That wasn't even something that I desired to do, but I stumbled into coaching. And when I stumbled into coaching, I recognized fast that you need to do a little more learning. You can't help these people without a little bit more education. So I started reading. And reading became so important to me that I just always had the urge to read. Now, rewind 10 years, I never had an urge to read. Now, because I created this habit of reading and it had this emotion attached to it because I wanted to become the best coach I could for people. Now I have urges to do things that make me better. Is that making sense to anybody? I develop urges that are going to do things to make me better. I would just have the urge to buy a new book on another topic. I would just have the urge to go to a lecture to learn something else. I would just have the urge to buy a course on something so I can learn more. I would just have the urge to do certain things, but all of the things that I just subconsciously had the urge to do were things that were leading me to success. So our the pinnacle of our success is going to happen from the things that we subconsciously do. But the best part about it is once we program our autonomic nervous system, we don't have to tussle and toil and be so forward with everything that we're trying to do all the time because we are simply going to be led to do things. And then we're going to start seeing changes in our life that we're going to be like, damn, how did I even get here? How did this happen in my life? Why are all these good things happening to me? That's because you programmed your autonomic nervous system, and your autonomic nervous system is taking you towards success, even when you're not working. So programming the ANS. The ANS needs information to pull from. So again, I put the information in. I need reading. Reading is very important to me. The ANS responds to what it knows or believes knows probably is important to you. So yeah, what it knows is important to you because sometimes I'll say what it thinks because a lot of times we feel like something is important that we really don't put the emphasis on, and I don't be wanting people to feel bad, but this is what it is. The autonomic nervous system knows what's really important to you. And how does it gauge that? Because it's what's on your mind the most and what you have the highest level of emotion towards. Because you can't say you really it's really important to you to accomplish certain goals and you don't even think about the things you need to do for those goals. You don't have no elevated emotion towards those goals. It's just something that you just think about sometimes, just something that you think about sometimes. It's not a real goal that's really important to you. You say it's important to you. You might say it to other people, but you don't, there's nothing really in your mind or your body that says it's important. And that's why you can't get towards it. That's why you can't even see yourself getting there. Because if it was really important, your autonomic nervous system would know it was important and say, okay, this is what the body needs to come together to accomplish this goal. This is what my host body, because our brain is a tool. Our brain is not who we are, it's our tool. And the ANS, and this is what my host body desires. I'm gonna take you to it. But it needs the information for you to pull from, for it to pull from. So your self-talk, it programs your autonomic nervous system for success or failure. Are you constantly talking about what you can't, what you won't, what doesn't happen to you? What doesn't happen for you, what only happens for other people. All of that talk, the autonomic nervous system is saying, okay, all right, well, they don't, that's, this is what they talk about all day. They talking about how they can't. They talking about how it won't. They talking about how it's only for other people. So the autonomic nervous system says, it's what's important to my host body is failure. So guess what the goal is today, y'all? Failing. I need you to understand that. Your brain, your autonomic nervous system, your tool. The more you talk about the negative, the more you think about the negative, your brain believes that your goal for the day is to fail. So every cell in your body comes together to make sure you fail because that failing is more important to you than succeeding. Because that's where your thoughts are, that's where your language is, and that's where all your energy is at. And since all of those things are there, your body says, okay, I got this. Well, this is the goal today. We're gonna fail. We're gonna find every way to fail. All right, I'm gonna fail you. So now let's talk about programming the autonomic nervous system for success. Three ways. This is supposed to say ANS. I swear, I I'll type A and D delete and hit the S 5 times, but I guess I hit the D each time I deleted it. First is choosing the right information. Fill your mind with information that leads you to your desired life. Whatever, this is the thing, right? A lot of us think we deserve what we don't deserve. Whatever your goal is, right? Let's say there's a person who's, you don't want their life, but you want to live a life similar to theirs. Like, all right, that's where I want to be. If we look at 10 people just like that, and we look at their lives, we look at what they do, we look at what they believe, we look at what they think, we look at how they talk, we look at what they read. If we look at all of those things and then we look at your life, do you do any of that stuff? If the average millionaire is reading 3 to 4 books a month and you don't read, how do you think you're supposed to be a millionaire? You think everything you digest from the shade room is going to lead you to success? So no, I got this goal, whatever this goal might be, and I need to read and ingest as much information as possible on whatever this subject is. So for me, I started with personal development, and I'm still in the personal development realm. I believe, a lot more holistic than the average personal development coach, because most personal development coaches just stick at the traditional personal development, whereas I'm going into neurobiology, and I'm going into physiology, and I'm going into developmental pathology, and I'm going into metaphysics. I'm adding all of this other stuff. But the reason why I start adding this other stuff is because I was filling my mind with the right information to the point where my autonomic nervous system is like, all right, well, you want to get hold on, my host body wants to get smarter, and wants to get the best possible information. And then so I start having ideas of reading things I would have never read in my life. I would have never, like 20 years ago, I would have never read a neurobiology book. Now I read neurobiology books like I read them like it's just leisure. I don't even read fiction books. My leisure time is reading nonfiction educational stuff. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. So I'm filling my mind with the information, and it's just and it's programming my autonomic nervous system to ingest this type of information. And it's saying, all right, well, this is the type of information that it's like an algorithm. Right, Facebook and Instagram is like, we want to show you what we know your habits say you want to see. That's how your autonomic nervous system works. So get this information in you and constantly rehearse this information until it becomes a part of you. Once that information becomes a part of you, your autonomic nervous system says, boom, all right, this is the goal. So who do you want to be? What do you want to have? What information do you need to get there? I promise you, once you start putting that information in your mind, subconsciously, you are going to be led to do things that's going to take you towards your success. Labeling information. Now, I don't like to say one thing is bigger or better than the other, but this might be the most important one, because we don't, how do I say this? For the most part, we just let thoughts run wild. When I'm working with people, one of the things that we go through is identifying what your doubts sound like, what your fears sound like, and what your hesitations sound like. Like, what are the words? We typically just operate from the feeling. Well, I feel fear, I feel doubtful, I feel hesitant. But we never sit back and say, well, what actually was on my mind prior to the feeling? Because the feeling has to come from a thought. The thought makes the feeling. The feeling don't come out of nowhere. The thought makes the feeling. You have some kind of experience with the world. Your brain intakes some information that triggers a thought or triggers a memory, and then that creates a feeling. So we got to start labeling information that comes in our mind. Like, people will always say that, being conscious, right, takes the fun out of everything. So, like, I can't just watch a movie. My mom hates it. My mom be like, listen, boy. She'd be like, boy, it's just a movie. It's just there to entertain you. They ain't got to get everything right. I'd be like, why not? Why not? Like, I'm watching this show, man, The Johnsons, right? And this guy's doing Uber in like a 1967 two-door Chevelle. I'm like, first of all, Uber car can't be older than 15 years old, and you can't have no two-door. She's like, boy, if you don't shut up. But the thing is, I've trained my mind to recognize bullshit. Yeah, just like that. I train my mind to recognize bullshit. So all day long, when I'm hearing something, when I'm seeing something, when somebody's telling me something, I'm never just allowing information to come in my mind and just lay there and just fester and then become some kind of subconscious belief. No, everything I ingest, is this good for me or is this bullshit? You have to label the information, because if you don't label the information, the brain just takes it as information. So this is something to pull from. Well, I said the ANS needs information, right? So whatever information you got coming in your mind, whether good or bad, becomes something for your brain to pull from. Unless you label that information, oh, nah, that's not good. The moment you have that feeling towards that information and that thought towards that information, your brain says, no, discard this. That's not no information we want to pull from. Hope this is making sense. So we got to identify and dismiss detrimental thoughts. Everything that comes in, I don't care what it is. How you think, how do you think a lot of black people develop self-hate? Information that they didn't check. How do you think a black woman feels like her hair is not appropriate? It's information that was pushed on her that she received and she never said that ain't right. I never forget, I was 10 or 11 years old. I got surgery on my knee. And the doctor came in. He was like, "Yeah, we open your knee up or whatever. As you get older." And I heard a lot of people say this too, but for me, it didn't make sense to me. The doctor said, when it rains, your knee is going to hurt. And I was been a little obnoxious, and I was like, "That's stupid, and that's never going to happen." Now I know a lot of people who feel pain in their joints when it rains. I have never, not one time ever in my life. I'm 42 years old, so that's been what 30. That's been over 30 years since that happened to me. I said I rejected it. I rejected it and I've never felt it ever. That's how we have to operate. Now we got to think how much stuff is in your mind from all the information you receive your entire life that's not leading you to where you want to be. All of that stuff is on equal footing or a higher footing than the things that lead you to success. And that's why you can't get there. You got too much negative stuff blocking you that you didn't label. So we got to start doing the work to go back to challenge all of our ideas, beliefs, and ideologies, and only accept the things that's going to lead us to where we need to be. And the third thing is attaching emotion. You have to have an elevated emotion like joy, love, excitement, because if you don't, when you are have a negative thought and you have those elevated feelings of fear and doubt and hesitance, that's what's going to produce in your life. Whatever you feel the most towards is how your autonomic nervous system ranks stuff. But oh, is that much fear? But guess what? I'm gonna show you everything that you're afraid of. But we start moving to gratitude. Ooh, operating in gratitude. Your autonomic nervous system going to show you more stuff to be grateful for. Love and joy and excitement. So whatever the information, we got to get that. See, like me, I get excited every time I learn something new that I can teach. Every time. And that's actually how you retain information. So I know I've talked about this before. Thoughts in our brain, not just the words, right? When we think, neurons in our brain fires and it releases chemicals that are trying to connect to other neurons in our brain so that they can fire together for whatever the experience, feeling, thought, whatever it was. So boom, the more we think of something and have that elevated to emotion for it, the more other neurons fire and they get stronger. Like it creates like a web in our brain. And that's how we retain information from thinking about the same thing multiple times and having that elevated emotion towards it. So that's how you have that's how we create. That's not the word I'm looking for. That is how retaining information is done, right? So the more we retain that information on certain things, the more autonomic nervous system goes back towards it. So now I want to talk about something daydream, the difference between daydreaming and visualization, right? Because you might think I think about my goals. All right, but how are you really thinking about them goals? Sometimes I daydream about being in the NBA. Guess what? When I'm daydreaming about that, it's no real serious thought in my mind. I'm gonna be an NBA. I'm 42 years old. I'm 5'10. I'm out of shape. Ain't nowhere in the world this is getting ready to happen. But visualization is when you're intentional about thinking about your goal and visualizing your goal and visualizing everything that you have to do to get there and visualizing the plan. And but most importantly, visualizing how you are going to feel once you accomplish it. Once you get to that point, once you get to the other side, right, where you start to be able to feel the joy, the love, the excitement, the gratitude, the gratefulness, feeling accomplished. Once you can feel it before it happens, that's when you begin to attract it. That once you when you if you take 20 minutes a day, I used to do a half hour a day sitting by the water. I would sit and visualize. I would just sit and just force my mind to think about the end goal. Like I walk the halls of my house. I know how I want my house to look and how I want it to smell. And I know how people want to respond when they walk in and see it. I already know the car. I know the feeling that I'm gonna feel, and I allow myself to feel that until we begin to attract it into our lives, because now it becomes the most important thing for our autonomic nervous system. And literally, your body begins to come together and say, let's get closer to this goal every day. And every day, you are accomplishing something without trying. So literally, when we're doing this attaching emotion, choosing, labeling, and attaching, it changes our brain frequency. Literally, like this is like your brain. If you go to the doctors and you get an EEG, where you get a scan of your brain with the EEG machine, it's measuring the waves in your brain. So it's some real stuff that's going on in our brain that we can't see and that we don't know because we've never studied the brain. So we have frequencies in our brain that are similar to frequencies on a radio. So when you tune into 98.9, for those that's in Philly, that's the only stations I know. I don't know the Philly was, but whatever station, whatever city you are in, you tune to the station, you get the radio station. So when we change our brain frequency, oh, now we are talking to the frequency of the thing that we want, and we're bringing it closer and closer to our lives. Hope this is making sense to somebody. We almost done. We almost done. We 38 minutes in. So the reticular activating system. So your ANS works hand in hand with your reticular activating system. So your RAS is a filter. It keeps you from overloading on information. So without the reticular activating system, you'll walk into a room and you'll just bombarded with everything you see: the couch, the floor, the colors, ceiling, walls. And it just like you wouldn't be able to focus because you're just ingesting everything. You're ingesting every smell, everything, everybody's energy. And it's like, oh, it's like psychotic. But your reticular activating system says, nope, hold on, I'm gonna give you focus. But I'm gonna focus on what again is important. So that's why the ANS and the RAS works together. Whatever is important, the reticular activating system is going to focus on it. Now, the most common way people explain the reticular activating system in life is when you or somebody you love gets a new car. And I've seen this happen 1,000 times. When you or somebody you love gets a new car, all of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere. Why? Because now this car, you have an emotion towards it. And even though that car was on the road the whole time, you didn't see it because it didn't mean anything to you. But now, since it means something to you, when it actually is in front of you, your reticular activating system says, oh, that's important for them. Let me make sure they see this car. Now, the car was there your entire life. The car was there every day. Just yesterday, before they got the car, you saw 100 of those cars, but you did not recognize them until it became important information. And then your reticular activating system literally scans and shows you what it knows you think is important. So you got to focus on what you want, and your reticular activating system will help you see opportunities. The more you focus on what you want, now this is the thing, the opportunities were always there. They were just blocked by your vision. They were blocked by what you were thinking about. They were blocked by what you were saying. They were blocked because your reticular activating system knew you really wanted to be a failure. And so it showed you failure. Your reticular activating system heard you every day talking about how there's no opportunities. There'll never be no opportunities for you. And things don't never happen for you. And everybody always overlook you. And your reticular activating system said, that's the most important thing. I'm gonna make sure all you see is everybody that picks over you. I'm gonna make sure all you see is how things don't work. I'm gonna make sure you don't see any opportunities. That's literally how this thing works. But once you begin to choose, label, and attach a emotion to information, now your reticular activating system is literally scanning the world. And this is all subconscious stuff, y'all. This is not what you are setting out to do. This is your body literally working together without your control to make sure you succeed. And that's why I call this how to become a success magnet, because this is not about how we are going to work our way to the top. This is literally about how we work our way work on our insides, and then what's inside us begin to lead us to places and things and having stuff that we never would have gotten to with just our own cognition. And when we look up, it's like, wow, I just attracted all of this in my life. So developing an opportunity consciousness. So as I was talking about, train your reticular activating system to focus on opportunities. See possibilities everywhere and seize opportunities on autopilot. So now, once we have done this, we begin to see opportunities in everything. You know, in some languages, there's no word for crisis. There's no word for being in a crisis, or we're in a pandemic, or all of these negative words. Like English has a lot of negative connotation words. Some people always say this language is a spell. Not going to get too deep into that though. But the word that people in certain languages would use when we would use crisis would be a word more close to opportunity. So everybody will look at it as uh, the building is on fire, it's a crisis. As opposed to, the building is on fire, I get the chance to put it out. Or somebody is hanging from the window, it's a crisis. Or somebody's hanging from the window, I have the opportunity to save them. It changes everything. It changes everything. Now everything becomes an opportunity and nothing is a roadblock. Imagine if every roadblock in your life you viewed as an opportunity. Let's get into some real. Let's get into some stuff right here. Right. Let's look at this. So, opportunity consciousness. This is something that I created. Is the end result of reticular activating system being trained to process opportunities as important, and in turn causing the brain to seek and focus on all opportunities that leads an individual to exactly where they want to be. So this is how the brain functions. Information from all of our five senses: see, taste, touch, hear, feel. See, taste, touch, hear, feel. So all of our information comes in. That information comes to the thalamus, which is right back here. Then that information goes to the amygdala. This is where we're going to have our emotions at. So listen, if you get too emotional, your information gets to the amygdala, and then the amygdala blocks the information and begins to release chemicals to get your body to go in a fight, flight, or freeze mode. And you never get to your medial prefrontal cortex where you actually think. So a lot of times when you are overly emotional about a subject, you never even use the rest of your brain. You just got triggered and you just start arguing. You ain't even listening to what the person was saying. But that's a whole other story. This is how the brain functions, right? Boom. Information from our senses, the thalamus, the amygdala, to the prefrontal cortex. To create your opportunity conscious, we have to train. Ah, man, I can't even see this. Have to train our brain in your body. Have to train your brain and your body to feel different about your goals. There we go. Because what happens is, right, we again, like I said earlier, we're not conscious of what our doubts, our fears, and our hesitations sound like. So we only go off what our feelings. So once we start thinking about our goals, we have negative feelings towards them. We have all this all this doubt, and it just feels like unknown. Well, I'm trying to figure out. I've been missing this word that I want to say for like a week, and I can't get it. And I gotta go type this in synonyms or something. So we it's just all of this unknown, and then we're afraid. And once you're afraid, you're not going to accomplish your goals because now you're going to be like, I can't do it. You're not going to give it your all. When you don't give it your all, then you created a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it when really you only didn't do it because you didn't go as hard as you should. Now, the more you connect helpful, rational, accurate thoughts to those feelings, the more those feelings will lead you to more helpful, rational, accurate thoughts. So, what is this doing to your body physiologically and cognitively? It's training your entire being to place importance on what's helpful, rational, and accurate. And once the mind and body view these as important, your reticular activating system will show you opportunity everywhere. Before, right? Before we start to choose, label, and attach our feelings to, we'll have an idea. I want to start a business. What's the feeling we would have? Anxiety, fear, overwhelming. So now what we thinking? I can't run a business on my own. But when we are different, we want to trigger things in a different way. The idea, I want to start a business. What's the feeling now? Anticipation, excitement, I'm capable. Now, how do we feel about it? What are we thinking about it? I can see myself doing this. So all of this is changing everything about you internally in order for you to begin to do things, feel things, hear things, say things, and attract the right things in your life. This is the last thing, and I really can go for a while on this, but I'm trying to get out your way because I've already been here 47 minutes. I want to talk about chemically induced success. So this is a equation I came up with, TCAM. Thoughts plus emotions equal chemicals plus actions equal manifestation. So, what does this mean? Every thought, again, your thought creates emotions. So, whatever you're thinking is going to create an emotion. Now, emotions are physiological compounds of chemicals. So your thoughts plus your emotions equal these chemicals. So this is how you feel about something. How you feel about something is going to dictate how you act. If you don't feel like you can accomplish it, you're not going to step out to do it. If you feel like you can do it, you're going to step out to do it. And then guess what? You're going to accomplish it, so you'll manifest it. But it doesn't. So the reason why it's manifestation is because it starts with your thoughts. It doesn't start with the actions. You can't start with the actions. I don't know if y'all can see my mouse or not, but I'm going back and forth over actions. You can't just start with actions. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. All right. And then as soon as you start to do it, thoughts in your mind begin to change your whole attitude, and now you ain't do it because you got to start here. See, this is like, let's break this down, right? Nostalgia. We all know what nostalgia means. Nostalgia is, right? When you hear a song, your senses, boom, it take you right back to the place that you was in when you first heard this song. How? It creates the same exact chemical compound that you felt in the moment when it happened. It takes you right back there. So imagine, right? And that's from a good way, right? So now you're feeling good about, or it might be something that takes you to a bad place. If it takes you to a bad place, it doesn't end up with no good actions. You can end up crying. You can end up wanting to leave a party. You know, you can hear a song and it reminds you of somebody that just died, and now you just all messed up crying. But we're talking about making sure we do this in a way where we create the manifestation. I'm only going to think about what I want to manifest. I'm only going to dwell on what I want to manifest. I'm only going to have an elevated emotion attached to what I want to manifest. And the more these thoughts produce emotions that produce a chemical, the more we will subconsciously develop actions and habits that bring us to what we want to manifest. So we have to practice positive emotions towards our desires to manifest them effortlessly. And that is how you become a success magnet. I want to thank all of y'all who have tuned in, those who popped in, those who popped out. Hope that you got some good information out of this. And like I said, I think I'm gonna start going live every day again, and I'm gonna check y'all out tomorrow. Hope y'all have a good night.